What's the Church of Scientology so afraid of?
This is SPTV.
All right, almost a smooth opening. Hey, it's Wisebeard Man here with Tori Magoo. It's exciting, isn't it? Hi, Tori.
Hi, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing okay, except tons of problems leading up to this. So you folks have been waiting for us to start going. I appreciate you standing by here. Let me see who's with us. Well, Kelly's here. Jay, DSA. Jay says that everyone had a great time celebrating your 25,000 milestone, Tori, and we barely even knew it. LOL. Thank you, Jay.
Yeah.
Let's see. Jay, Rin. Rin can't wait. Well, you did have to wait. I'm sorry about that. But we should have some fun tonight. What I was going to do is play a couple of videos here, and then we could watch them and comment on them and think. And then I get to the computer and discover that the cats have once again somehow hidden my earbuds, AirBuds.
Oh.
So I had to get the Apple ones here, the ones that normally go with this. I don't know what room they're in now. They knock them off the desk and bat them all around. So, and then I discovered that the videos I was planning to play were again MKV files, and I can't play those here in Stream Deck. So we're going to try playing them by sharing the screen, and we'll see if that works. And it may not at all, but we'll give it a shot.
Okay.
How you doing, Tori?
I'm good. I had a really fun night yesterday. Jay and I were there all day and night, and well, not all day and night, but afternoon and evening. And then Jessica and Chris and a few other people came. It was fun. We had a good time.
Well, good.
Scientology's completely shut down all over LA, so that's fun.
It is amazing how you can do that.
I know.
It doesn't even take the crowd of TikTokers and YouTubers. Just one person can shut them down now, it seems. But it's an amazing thing that's been happening out there in LA.
And all across the United States, I think.
Yeah. Not so much here in Clearwater. Well, Aaron, I don't know how long it's been since Aaron's been out in the street. He's probably out there all the time, and I just never get a chance to follow him. I was thinking about going out there and doing a live outside the old LMT to talk about it there.
Good idea.
And I also, I'm going to be doing a video about Drew Street. This is something for you folks who aren't interested in Clearwater politics. When I was on the council, one of the things I was proudest of is we got approved this project that people have been waiting for 7 years here to fix a very dangerous stretch of Drew Street. People have been begging and begging and begging, and we finally approved that last year.
Good.
And they're trying to stop it right now, and they will stop it. They were supposed to vote on it last Thursday. Instead, they said, let's wait 2 more weeks on this.
Yeah.
They're not going to be able to change anything in 2 weeks. They're upset with the really wonderful plan that was put together by the professionals who know what they're doing.
Right.
To ease congestion, drop accidents down 57%, and only slow down traffic like 30 seconds on your trip downtown, which is pretty darn remarkable.
Sure.
And man, people were so thrilled. And then this new council gets elected, and that's being shut down now. So there's a whole lot of people trying to do a hardcore press to convince them in 2 weeks to don't stop it, let that go through, and I hope we can succeed. I see. Well, no, we won't. these folks who were elected in place of me and Kathleen, they are, they got elected expressly to stop anything that.
Are they Scientologists?
No, but they're right-wing business people. The Chamber of Commerce here, Amplify Clearwater, is dead set against this because they say it's going to impact business downtown, and they know damn well the problem downtown is not traffic.
Right.
The problem is Scientology buying up all the buildings, leaving them empty, and purposely screwing over Clearwater. And what's really frustrating about this, Scientology is a member of Amplify Clearwater.
Of course.
And I keep putting it, to Amanda Payne, who's the woman who runs this. If Scientology is not going to help you with these empty buildings, they should be kicked out of Amplify Clearwater.
Right.
They're not a partner.
Yeah.
They're
not part of a team. They're not team.
Right.
They're not team players at all.
No, not at all.
Not at all.
So that's the Scientology aspect of this story, and I won't go into more of this, but I mean, really, a lot of people are still hoping and praying that we can get this approved again. Anyway.
Now, before we go on, I just want to clarify for anybody watching from my site, because they probably don't know what LMT is. And LMT stands for Lisa McPherson Trust. And you can go on and explain more about that.
Yeah, so Lisa McPherson Trust was started in the beginning of January 2000. And it was a watchdog group put together by Bob Minton. Stacy Brooks was the president. Jesse Prince was the vice president. Right. I was the media guy. And we had one other person. I don't know if Bob Peterson was with us at the beginning. I'm trying to think who else was. Well, the one person we had, I really don't talk about him, but we did have a different president for the organization when we opened. His name was David. Well, David, he it was not a good fit.
I never heard him.
The first time I met him, we got together to talk about the opening up the LMT, and he asked what I would be doing, and I said, well, I'll be the media guy. I'll be shooting videos, putting videos on the web. That's what I'm good at. And he went, what else do you think you'd be doing? Oh, okay.
We don't need that.
Yeah. So, all right, that wasn't a great start for us. But then opening day comes, and I don't know, people may have seen the video of the opening day ceremony where Bob actually purchases the building from the fellow who was an accountant.
I haven't seen that.
Well, it's up there on the web. I converted it to 4K. It's interesting because this guy was nice enough to tell the story of how he shook hands with Bob to sell the building to him, and Bob said, "Listen, I'll come back with the cash this afternoon, but in the meantime, do not allow Scientology to come in here and try to make you change your mind."
Right.
And Bob came back, and of course, they had been in there, and they were trying to change his mind, and they failed. So this guy talks about what happened when Scientology came in and said, "Listen, we will pay for any lawsuit that Bob may file against you for breaking this deal." And he said, "No, I shook hands with him. That's the way I do business."
Yeah.
So that's the only reason we got a building in Clearwater to begin with, because Bob was originally going to be leasing space in some building there, but everywhere that Bob went to talk about leasing space, Scientology would be there immediately afterwards and convince them that it's not safe to have us in there.
I know it
We're
was incredible when I got there in July, and just how I remember going to that restaurant right around the corner from LMT, and I walked in and the lady said, "We're not serving you," and I said, "Based on," and she said, "You're a Scientologist," and I sat down and I said, "That's discrimination. Call the police." And all the waiters came over to me and said, "Thank you so much. We hate her." Because she just was like a really creepy person. So they ended up serving me. They had to. I said, "Look, you don't want to serve me? Call the police. It's based on a religious choice of mine." No.
so
Because I was an ex-Scientologist. But
ex-Scientologist. That's what
yeah, I was an ex-Scientologist, but she was still saying you were, oh, that's right. It was like I was the ex-Scientologist, so I was against Scientology. And I think she was a Scientologist, but the waiters were not, and they didn't care.
Okay.
And they had seen her do this with other ex-Scientologists, where she just would be like, "We're not going to serve you," and they'd leave. And I was just like, "No, call the police. That's religious discrimination."
I wonder if that's Daniela's Kitchen that you're talking about. That
Yeah,
was
I think
right.
it was.
Yeah, that was right across the street from the LMT.
Right.
And Jeff Jacobson, who joined us as the librarian for the trust,
Right.
he and I went over there one day and had lunch, and they actually served us. We had a nice meal, paid the bill, and as we were leaving, this guy follows us to the door and says, "Listen, you guys were fine. You didn't cause any problems, but you're not welcome here."
See, there you go.
Yeah. So you can't come again. Even though, again, we didn't cause any trouble.
Yeah, you didn't
We
cause any
didn't
trouble
talk
in your
about
face.
Scientology. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was that. And then our friend Paris Morphopoulos at the One Stop Shop refused to sell me an ashtray.
Right.
And barred me from his place. And I was buying an ashtray because we were scrambling around, and Stacy and Jesse wanted to do a demonstration of the TR drills.
Right.
And this wasn't anything that was scripted. This was something that
No,
they
I
just
remember.
ad-libbed. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so where can I get an ashtray now to do this? Oh, well, the one place that's nearby is the One Stop Shop. And he stopped me. He stopped me one time and said, "No, you're not welcome here." And then I was banned for the rest of eternity. But I did go in there. I did go in and buy some water during my last campaign, as I was working there at the park, and it was so hot. And that was the closest place where I could buy some water, and it was a Saturday, and Paris wasn't there, so I was able to just walk in and buy some water and leave without trouble.
Right.
And
now was that? Oh, go on.
No, in fact, I had to buy 3 bottles of water instead of 1 because I was using my debit card, and they had a $3 limit on or something. Yeah, whatever it was. Okay, I'll buy 3 bottles. And then I gave one away to a homeless fella. I tried to give another one away to a couple who were in the shop with me, but they didn't speak English at all. And I left, and everything was fine.
Was that the one that was next to the theater, or was that down the other street? That was next to the theater? That was the guy that wouldn't sell me the $100 headset.
Well, there you go.
He said, "No, because you're an ex-Scientologist. No, I'm not selling it to you." So the critics, remember, there were a bunch of critics there back then, and they all, with me, we went outside in this theater. Mostly the opinion leaders or people that are with money went to this theater, and the theater let out, and we all stayed. And we all talked to them and told them, "That guy's a Scientologist, and he wouldn't sell me And I was in Scientology for 30 years. I escaped out, and he would not sell me a headset because I was an ex-Scientologist. And I'm telling you, by the end, that was a lot of people that were never going to shop there again. They were like,
So after these two businesses refused to serve us, we filed a complaint. And they denied the complaint. They said, listen, it's not religious
how can
discrimination.
they deny it?
Well, because they weren't discriminating against us on behalf of our religion.
No.
They were kicking us out because they didn't want us there, and we weren't part of their religion.
Mm.
And
that's
so that was perfectly fine in Clearwater.
Oh,
They you know, we were never allowed in there again. Yeah. Renee B, hi. Thanks for saying hello to us. Tori, Renee B says hello.
Hi, Renee.
And Miss Sunrise Dawn from North Georgia. I'm happy to see you here. There's a bunch of folks here. Make it make sense. Lisa from Jersey. Nice to see you. You know, I've been blabbing away here and have not been watching all of what's going on. But I welcome you all. Thanks so much for joining us. So, you know, Paris, the fellow who owns the one-stop shop and denied me service, he, as you probably remember, is the fellow who was the head of the Downtown Development Board.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And when I got elected as a council member, we all had to say what separate boards we wanted to be on. And I said, I want to be on the Downtown Development Board. And of course, Scientology did not like that one bit.
No.
And they had a whole line of Scientologists come in, including Paris Morphopoulos and Ray Casano, who was also on the DDB.
I knew him.
All these high-level OTs and wealthy people there who are huge donors, they all lined up to make comments at the council meeting of why I should not be allowed on the board, because it would be like putting you know, Hitler in charge of you know, some Jewish organization. You know, it's like, okay, I think that's a little extreme. And one after another, they got up and said, he's gonna cause nothing but trouble. There's going to be marches in the streets. It's just going to be chaos.
Wow.
And nothing like that happened. Nothing. I just got on the board, and every once in a while I'd say to them, hey, listen, you folks are in the best position to talk to Miscavige and talk to the people who own these buildings and find out why they're not putting businesses in them. And then Paris would bang his gavel and say, we can't talk about Scientology. And they went and they made a law. They made a rule for the meetings that no, Scientology is not on topic, and we can kick you out. That was part of the deal originally. That if I were to mention Scientology, they would kick me out of the meeting.
Yeah.
Really? Well, that wasn't legal. I'm an elected official. You can't kick a council member out. No. So that fell by the wayside.
Yeah.
But it's just fascinating seeing them so panicked that somebody might mention the word Scientology. So they made this law. You can't say Scientology. And then, like the next meeting, some young woman came in and said, you know, I want to open up a place downtown, but I've been talking to everybody in town, and everybody says the reason they don't come down is Scientology. Bang, bang, bang went the gavel. All right. See, it's not just me.
Yeah.
I'm not alone in saying this. And that's something that you folks sitting here on the DDB should acknowledge and do something about. Who is better positioned to do this. Well, clearly I was wrong about that, because none of them would dare do anything to question Miscavige. Anyway, you came to Clearwater and were refused service. But one of the things that you did, you made the Magoo dancing in Boston video, and then shortly after that, when you came to the element, well, I made it, but you made it sparkle.
Okay.
You know, I mean, it's you that makes the video. Although I did a spectacular job putting it together.
You did.
But you came and sat down and did a short video that I called Speaking Freely. And that was, the first time that you shared some of your story there.
Right.
And that was the beginning of a series that I did, which included the OT panel.
Oh, good.
So I was going to have Speaking Freely up here. Let me see if I can share the screen.
Yeah, give it a shot.
Yeah, let's see if we can watch this.
We're going to try it, everybody, so we'll see if it works.
Is that one? Let me come here. Let's see. Share screen. Speaking Freely, Tori Chrisman. Okay. Let's see if this is working here. All right, and I'm going to do this. Oh, we gotta get that playing. Oh, so exciting. We're almost there, Tori.
Good.
I've been assigned.
Oops.
Time I might have met. I loved it.
Here we go. How's that?
I've been a psychologist for 30 years. I got in 1969 when I was 19 years old. I was a very young person at the time looking for answers and truths and kind of answers for how to help people. And why did people do the things that they did? So I read Dianetics. I loved it. I actually went immediately from Chicago to Los Angeles and trained and have been part of the church for 30 years. Basically, in 1990, I got on OT7. And this is one of the main things that I want to let people know. I know there's a lot of people on OT7, and I know that the big party line is everyone's having a great time. But the truth is, the majority of people that I knew, I'm just going to talk about myself. I'll just leave it at that. While I was on OT7, I got on OT7, and the day I got on OT7 was a terrible day. And I went the very first day I went up to what's called cramming and said something's wrong. And literally for 7 years, I kept trying to work out what was wrong, that I wasn't getting it, because everybody else was getting it. Everyone else seemed like they were having a great time on OT7. I wasn't. But that's what I later found out happens. It's like no one really tells you the truth. So anyway, long story short, Battlefield Earth came out. I got on the internet because years ago I helped train John Travolta and I felt bad about what was going on with him. I'm on the internet pounding away, kind of fighting all of the different people that are on the internet, the people that are against Scientology, right? And I'm like an OSA volunteer. I've worked in public relations for 10, 15 years with the OSA, helping them out and fighting people and stuff like that. So I'm in my dining room pounding away about this and that and Get Real 101 and yada, yada. And basically I get mad. I'm a mother and I call up Warner Brothers and I say, that's it. You know, this isn't okay. These guys are on here. They're religious bigots, yada, yada, you know, get down the board. And someone from Time Warner calls me up and says, you know what? You're right. We're taking down the board. And I'm like, yoo-hoo. So now I think, okay, I'm going to take down ARS, Alt Religion Scientology, which is an internet site that has a lot of people on it that are against the church. And I think, I can handle it. My brothers, I'll take down ARS. So now I'm on there pounding away for like literally it starts out and I'm on it day, night, and weekend. I'm on it all the time. Magoo, all of you know me who have been there and watching Magoo. Anyway, I'm fighting. I'm being very nasty, very gnarly, typical OSA thing, you know, just batting back. It's like fish in a barrel, pounding people. And then all of a sudden, there's a man on the internet who has a website, and it's a huge website with a lot of data and information on it about the Church of Scientology. That's not good stuff. And I had seen it for years. And his name is Andreas, and his site is Clambake. And to me, he was sort of like the devil. If there was a devil, he was like the devil. And he came online while I was doing the Magoo thing and said,
"That's a good photo."
With a few technical things. And I was amazed. It was like, here's this person that's the devil helping me. So finally, I thought, I've got to write him and at least thank him, because everyone else was writing me what a moron I was, what an idiot I was. They were very much against me because they thought I was either David Miscavige or Int or something like that. But because I was doing this whole we and they thing, and I pretended I was a lie therapist. And anyway, it doesn't matter. I write to Andreas and I say, Andreas, thank you for helping me. And he writes back and he says, you're welcome. And I think, God, I was really ready for him to say something very, very bad. So I said, okay, I've got to find out, why does he have this horrible website on the internet? So I wrote him and I said, and now I'm writing to the devil. You have to really get the mindset of it for me. And I'm like, dear Andreas, you have to know that I think you're the devil, but I want to know, why do you have this horrible website about my church on the internet? And he says to me, and I'll never forget this, I really won't. He says, I believe in truth. I knew I was going to cry if I said this. He said, I believe in truth. I believe in looking at both sides. And I believe in having the courage to stand up and say what I believe. And I literally sat in my dining room, and this is to all the OT7s. I cried for about 2 hours because I realized I was so far from truth and so far from looking at both sides. And I had started out like that when I got in Scientology. That's what I was looking for, truth and both sides and honesty and everything, answers, right? And here I am at the top of the bridge, and I'm a chronic, compulsive liar all the time. How are you doing? Fine. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's the Truman Show all day, all night, going on completely everywhere I went. How's OT7? How's OT7? Great. It's a great level. You better get on it. I never wanted to say anything because I didn't have any wins on it. I didn't like it. It was a very bad level for me. And if you watch the Barnes's video, you'll see why it was a bad level for me. But I didn't know why it was a bad level for me. I just knew I was getting worse and worse and worse as I stayed on it. Every 6 months, I was getting worse and worse. I gained 100 pounds. I was nearly dead. I could hardly feel anything in my body. I had very little energy in my body, just almost solidly dead. That's how I felt. Now, people in the church can say, well, why didn't you come in and tell us about that? Because it doesn't work that way. It just doesn't. You can tell a certain amount of stuff to the church, but you can't really tell them what's really going on. You just can't. I don't know how to explain it. You know what I mean? You can't really say, you can't say, you know, this isn't working, man. I'm not having a good time. Because you know what will happen? Right out the check, you got a little more set checking to do, baby. That's the way it goes. Right? Truth. It's the truth I'm telling you guys here, and you know it. Okay, so Andreas says that to me. I sit in my dining room, and I am crying for 2 hours. I can't stop crying. I'm just weeping and weeping, thinking, here's this man that I thought was the devil, and he's been so kind to me, and he has since. Every single day, he's been so kind to me. Hi, Andreas. So anyway, and of course, also, this is really funny. So now I hit the wall, like in the Truman Show. I'm like, wow, this is a bunch of crap. The whole thing. It just, boom, the whole thing goes down. That's it. This isn't what I think it is. This isn't the Church of Scientology. This is a bunch of crap that I'm living right now. And so are my friends. So is everybody else. I'm pissed. I'm sitting here just like, well, how could this be? I've been in the church for 30 years, right? So, but I'm against the wall and I go, okay. And I write to Andreas and I say, because I have no one. When you're in the Church of Scientology, there's no one you can call. You can't call them up and go, you know, I'm really thinking about leaving the church. It doesn't work that way. You have nothing. You have no terminal. Now they're going to say in the church, oh, you have terminals. You can come talk to us, right? And get locked up in a room and beat up or something. But you can't really go get handled. Not really. So I'm sitting there going, what am I going to do? I'm in my dining room. I'm all by myself. I can't think of one solid person that I could call. Not one friend, not anybody that I could call and say, you know what? I am dying I was an OSA INT volunteer. I met with the vice president of the Church of Scientology every Monday night. What were we meeting about? Our little group that we were starting to handle Black PR. All these people in the media that were writing these things that were lies about the Church of Scientology. I'm fighting for this, man. We're going to put these people down, right? And I'm on the internet talking to Andreas. And now I go, Andreas, how am I going to do this? If I leave the Church of Scientology, that's it. I will have no friends, not one friend, none. Everyone I know is a Scientologist. My husband will probably leave me, which he has, or I have to leave what I'm doing, what I know, what I feel, and come back and be a good wife. But truthfully, I had nothing. And so I wrote that up to Andreas, and he wrote me back, and he said, I don't want to hurt your feelings, but I have to ask you this, and it's a good question. How good could those friends be if they're going to leave you because you changed your mind? And again, I sat there and I went, oh my God. Oh, it was such a shock for me to think of that and to realize he's right. And he's been totally right. Who called me? Has any one of my friends, one of my friends called me up? I'm not even declared. Go ahead, write my declare. I wait for it. But I haven't been declared yet. Do you think anybody, one person, 30-year friends has called me or helped me? One friend. I do have one friend, and I'm not saying who it is. But thank you very much to that friend, and you know exactly who you are. And to Andreas. And to all the people over here. This has been amazing. Okay, so I decide, you know what? That's it. I'm out of this place. I'm done. I just get it. I'm going, that's it. I'm done. I'm not doing this. It's a lie. It's a fraud. I've had it. I have enough courage. I grew up with parents that gave me a lot of courage. And my father said, if you know something to be true, you get your ass up there and tell somebody about it. Don't you ever sit down and just sit in a corner and let somebody make you feel bad like that. So I have all my life, and people who know me know that I have a lot to say. And OC, you know that too. And I told you. I've told you people for a long time, don't be out there being mean to these people. These OTs that are out here at Flag are unbelievable. I can't believe the disgrace that's going on here with these people that come from the Lisa McPherson Trust. Okay, maybe there's signs we don't agree with. Maybe so. Maybe they're not what you want. But to have 50 people that say they're OTs out there screaming their lungs out at them, looking like absolute morons. I can't believe it. That's not Scientology. It's not Scientology even a little bit.
You guys got nothing. Nothing.
Now where am I going to go? I start writing. Now I've got all my internet friends, right? I think, but they don't really like me because they think I'm OSA-INT. So I'm trying to kind of bring this thing together without OSA-INT finding out that I'm leaving, but I want to leave. And I'm like, well, does anybody want to meet at Denny's? And does anybody know where Vaughn Young is? And does anybody know where Arnie Lara is? And does anybody know where anybody is? And nobody, they're like, Magoo, forget it. No. So finally, I think I've got to get out of here. I got to find somebody. And so finally I wrote, and Stacy and I have a little joke on this, because when people go to leave the church, they're like this. It's like you can't really just pick up a phone and say, I want to leave the church. Can you help me? It doesn't work that way. So I kind of wrote her this little email like, do you remember when this happened? And do you remember how bad it was? And she wrote me back and she said, and I was asking her for Vaughn Young's email. And she said, Vaughn doesn't take any anonymous communications. Who are you? And I wrote her back and I said, I can't tell you. Because I really was scared for my life. I mean, I really was. And I know people go, right, you're scared for your life. I was scared for my life. I was terrified. I was all by myself. I knew OSA was reading the internet. They knew I was Magoo. I was pretty sure they figured that out. Even though I wasn't like officially with them working on it at all. It was just my own little project, but I kind of thought they connected that. And so now I'm like, I got to get this thing happening fast. So I finally thought, I felt like I was on this cliff. And I know anybody who thinks about leaving, you feel this way. You're on this cliff. I felt like I was like at the top of this cliff. I could feel the breeze. I looked down. It's like 1,000 feet down. And there's a sandy beach with a sign that says, you might make it if you jump. And I had to jump. The only people I knew I was going to come see that I knew of were Stacy, Bob, and Jesse. Pretty much all of who were like devil number 3s for me. It was sort of like very bad people. And Bunker, of course, I knew, but I liked. But, it was sort of like, I didn't know anybody else out here. It was sort of like I knew I was going to lose all my friends. I'm probably going to lose my husband, all of my life, my church, everything, but I'm going. So I sat down, I wrote up the entire thing, who I am, what I am, where I've been. I'm mid OT7 for 7 years. I'm a trained auditor. I've been in the church for 30 years. And she knew me. We were auditing together at AO years ago. And so she called me and we and she said, okay, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I don't want to come out and do any videos for you guys, that's for sure. And she said, don't worry, that's no problem. She said, would you like to come out and just rest? Because I was just like, I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. And I said, yeah. So, okay, we set it up. The next day I'm going to get on the plane, come out to Florida. I get to the airport. First of all, my van's canceled. My plane is canceled. I get to the airport. Who's there? The vice president of the Church of Scientology. What do you know? Janet Weiland. Hi, Janet. You really ought to listen to this and think about it. So she's there going, don't go see these people. They're bad people. Now, of course, in my mind, I was sort of thinking they may be bad people, but I'm done with the Church of Scientology. I got to do something and I got to go somewhere. And I want to find out what's on this other side that's so bad. Andreas wasn't bad, and I thought he was the devil. So long story short, the flight gets canceled. I call Stacy. She says, stay on the cell phone. We'll walk you to the plane. And it takes us about an hour. We get me on the plane. I get to Chicago. My husband is there with Osa. I say, forget it. I'm going across this bridge into a new universe. I'm crossing over. I get on the plane. Now it's 1:45 in the morning in Florida. And I think, okay, nobody's going to be here in Florida at 1:45 in the morning. Wrong. There's Stacy, Bob, and Jesse, the police, and 5 OTs with Penny Jones jumping up and down. I'm your best friend for 30 years. Talk to me. The police say, we can't pick. She has to decide. So basically, I talked to Penny for a minute. My big upset is David Miscavige, who years ago, basically, I think started ruining the church. Everybody has their own opinion on it. My upset with it was because all of us that were on OT7 for as long as we were on it paid and we paid and we paid. We did all those 6-month checks. And then he comes out in front of thousands of people and says, the Solonats auditors are only using 3 out of the 79 tools. And step right over here to the registrar for $25,000. You can pay and get right back on. I didn't think that was too good, Davey. And you know what? I wrote you a letter about it saying so. I said, hey, I buy a crummy car. I pay a lot of money for it. They'll be here the next day with a good car. I said, the least you can do is put all of us OT7s who have trudged up this bridge back onto OT7. I got a little form letter. Thank you very much, but forget it. 25 G's, you can get back on. That was about it for me on that thing. So Penny says, I can get a message to David Miscavige. I said, you know what? I think we're over discussing this issue. And I went with Jesse and Stacy, and they've been very kind to me. They've let me stay there. They haven't asked me to do anything. It's been amazing to meet all of these critics who are fabulous. That's the other thing. Most of the Church of Scientology does not know. There is an army out there of people, and all they care about is freedom of speech. And they're not leaving until this whole thing gets settled out. They're not for the church. They're not ex-Scientologists. They don't want the bridge. They don't care about the bridge. They care about freedom of speech. And if anything, they're the ones that are going to put in the ethics on this group, because there's a large majority of them, more and more of them are joining every day. And I thank each and every one of them for holding that line for us, because it's been very hard for us to leave. I mean, it is a hard thing to leave a church like that, because you've been in it. You're in the Truman Show. You don't even see the wall. Then you finally see the wall. Now what? Nobody else sees it. Any person I've called up, they don't see it. What are you doing, Tori? What could you possibly be doing? What could you be thinking? I'll tell you what I'm thinking. I'm thinking I'm free for the first time in 30 years. I can think a thought. I don't have to worry about a sec check anymore. I don't care. I can do things that I want to do. I can go places I want to go. I can think things I want to do. I'm having a great time. I've met so many nice people over on this side. There's thousands of people that have left the church. The truth is, all the really neat people are over on this side. That's really fun. All these people that we forgot about, because that's one of the really bad things the church does too. They just kind of flush you out. You know, it's like, oh yeah, what happened to L. Ron Hubbard? He died. Well, okay, Davey Miscavige is back on. Forget about that old Hubbard guy. Well, you know what? That's kind of a ratty thing to do when you think about it. And I still, to this day, and I'll say it to each person that did have to leave, God, I'm sorry that we didn't all stand up for you, every single one of you. I mean, some of the people that had to leave that church when there was nothing. I mean, we have the internet now. We have a large group of people. We have all the critics who are helping out. There's a huge army over here now that's having a kick-ass time, I might say. But some of these guys really paved the way. They did. And I bless them. And I say, from the bottom of my heart, and I know for each of us who's left, thank you for what you did. And for the rest of you guys, get some balls. Come on, stand up for Christ's sake. Say what you feel. Come on out here. Come on over. We're having a good time. I'm telling you, it feels good to be able to think. That's the other thing that church does. You stop thinking. And you know what it starts with? Keeping Scientology working. That's the most amazing thing to me. It starts with that, because don't get off that path. God forbid you get off that path. You might think a thought. You might go somewhere else. You might get off the path of the bridge to total freedom. So think for yourself, look for yourself, have the courage to stand up and do it. And thank you. And call me anytime you want. I'm here. I'm having a good time. Anyway, take care. We will be in touch. Ciao.
All right. Well,
that was so good to see.
Tori, so you have not stopped sharing your story ever since then. And what always delighted me, we used to go out all the time and have dinner, and anywhere we'd be, you'd happily share your story with anyone, even if they didn't ask about it. We'd be sitting in like a Denny's or Big Boys we used to go to quite often, and you'd lean over to the people sitting next to us and say, "I was in for 30 years and I'm out," and warn them, don't get near Scientology.
I still do.
Yep, there you go. Always delightful. We got a lot of people who are asking questions along the way here. The one that I remember, the first one that I remember is, did you keep in touch with Andreas?
Oh yeah, all the way until when he passed away. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Andreas made several trips to LA, and you spent time with him there, besides, talking to him on the phone and all that. But then you also went over to see him, where he lives. And that was a great trip, wasn't it?
Norway is wonderful. And I mean, seeing Andreas, meeting him, that was amazing. I arrived in Oslo. We went to get something to eat. He set down his big wallet with all these credit cards, and he goes, "I'm going to the bathroom." And he goes to the bathroom, and he comes back, and I go, "Andreas, you left your wallet on the table." And he starts laughing. And I say, "What's so funny?" And he goes, "Tori, you're not in America anymore. This is Norway. No one would steal my wallet because we take care of people from birth to death. So everything that they need, including jobs and housing and everything, is all, it works for them. So there's no reason for someone to steal something." So again, we go outside afterwards, and I see this guy riding on a bike, and then he just sets it down. And I go, what is that?" And he goes, "It's just a bike. It's a free bike. You can pick it up and you just set it down and that's it." And he goes, "Yeah." And I said, "Do you know how long a bike in LA would last if somebody rode it and just set it down? About 2 minutes and it'd be snatched up." But the last thing that I'll say about Norway, I mean, I love Norway. I had a great time, but the first night, I think the next day after I arrived there, we had to go to IKEA. And this is in early 2000s. And I had made just a couple of these videos with you, you know what I mean? We hadn't even made, maybe we made Magoo dancing in Boston, but I'm not sure. But anyway, we walk into IKEA, and this person comes up and goes, "Tori, hi, I know you. I watch your videos." And Andreas goes, "I can't believe it. I'm a Norwegian. I've lived here all my life. I have up a giant website about Scientology, and they know you." And you walk in, and these people recognize you. And I go, "But it's a video world, Andreas, and yours is all writing. Not that it's not very important and very vital, xenu.net, xenu.net. which I always remind people of, because it's still a great reference place, but it's writing and you have to read it, and it's easier to watch a video. So anyway, we had a great time. We really did. And the other thing I love, one last thing I have to say, is they grow grass on the roof of the houses in Norway. And I said, what the hell is that? And he goes, insulation. Would you ever think of that?
No. Michael Moore did a documentary several years ago now called "Where Should We Invade Next?" I think.
I think I saw it.
Yeah, and he just went to countries to see what we could take from them if we invaded them, like healthcare in England. And I believe that he did go to Norway, and it was a pretty remarkable place to see.
It is.
You also remarkable was seeing you on Norwegian TV. I don't know where that clip is, but you were interviewed there. Okay, I won't say any more. But it was
Good Morning Norway. You can Google it, you guys. It's awful. It was really embarrassing, and
you're adorable.
I didn't know it until two things happened. One, I went to customs to leave at like 6 a.m, and this lady leans over and she goes, "Well, you've been busy this morning," and I think, how did she know? And she goes like this, "Good job." But
you did
then
great.
I come home, I fly home, and all the people on ARS are going nuts. They're like, "Magoo, what happened to you?" And I'm thinking, what are they talking about? And then I listened to it and it was like, oh my God. But luckily someone on there knew about what happened. And they said some people are like chameleons, where wherever there's an accent, they just kind of plug into it, which I was sort of like that. I'm not anymore. Now I pay very close attention to not doing that.
Yeah, you did have a kind of a distinct Norwegian cadence to your voice.
And I called Andres. I said, "Please tell me I wasn't doing that all week." And he goes, "Yeah, you were."
Really? So we got a whole bunch of questions lined up here. Tennessee Tier says, Tori, how does it make you feel seeing this video and all that passion?
It makes me really thankful for Mark Bunker. It really does, because you captured certain moments. I mean, those were, very passionate times, you can see, for me. And I just think, God, if you hadn't got those, I'd have them in my head, but nobody would. You can tell people stuff like this, but seeing it in video is unbelievable. I mean, it was a fantastic video. I loved everything I said. I mean, that's exactly how I felt. I just thought it's so great that I had the courage to say that to people, back when I knew they were all going to just turn on me. And I mean, I had no idea how badly they turned on me, but they did. They really did. I mean, remember they had Patricia Greenway was against me, and they had, I know, and that Diane lady that was the lady in the library who was Diane Richardson, I think was her name.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. She was 24/7. And then remember Truth Seeker? They put my name and phone number on a porn site. And these porn guys started calling my house. And they, oddly enough, they sound quite similar to a lot of people who leave Scientology, because Scientology has put in their heads how evil I am. So then when they would finally call me, they'd be like, "Tori," and they're kind of like really fearful of it, right? And these guys were the same. They were like, "Tori," and I'm like, "Yeah." And then I quickly got, these aren't ex-Scientologists, right? And so I'd say, "Look, I'm really sorry. I was in a cult for 30 years, Scientology. I escaped out, and they are running this program on me. And I'm not," because it was like "For a Good Time, Call Tori," and it had all the different things that I would do. Half of them I'd never even heard of. And, so I said, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do that, but good luck in your hunt. That's what I would say. And they'd say, okay. And they'd hang up. So finally,
if given a chance, would you do them?
Huh?
If given a chance, would you do them?
No.
Okay. Just curious.
Okay.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So I was married. I was happily married. But,
that's
right. I was
with Harold, not some stranger there.
Okay. So anyway, finally, there was a thing called IRC, which is, I always forget, it's Internet Relay Chat. Is that the name of it?
Yeah. I guess.
It's sort of like a bar on the internet, and you'd come in online, and they'd go, "Hey, Mark, hey, Magoo, come on in," and we'd all talk. So the one I was part of, they're all different ones you can be part of, and I was one where there were a bunch of computer geeks, Dave Turetsky being one of them, who was a professor at Carnegie Mellon, and he was a huge help. And so I said, "Look, these porn guys are calling me." And he and a few other, and it might have been you, I don't remember how many people, but they said, "Look, get a URL." And so I waited till I got a guy that was like alert enough. And I said, "Could you get the URL for a good time called Tori?" And remember, TruthSeeker had been writing lie after lie after lie. Maybe you weren't watching that.
No, I was not involved in that.
Well, he was writing like lie 1, and then lie 2 would have a carbon copy of lie 1. All the way up into the hundreds and hundreds of lies about me. So I really didn't like the guy. So now these porn guys are calling me, and I go over to Dave and I say, "What do I do?" And he says, "See if you can get a URL." So this guy calls me, another porn guy, and I said, "Look, can you just give me the URL for a good time called Tori?" And he goes, "Yeah, sure." And he does. He sends it to me. I send it over to Dave. I copy it it's he and about 3 or 4 other computer geeks were there. And they, in under 3 minutes, they called me back and they said, "You're not going to believe it." And I said, "What?" And they said, "It's for a good time called Tori is the exact same address as TruthSeeker. It's the same computer." So I said, "What do I do?" And they said, "Call the police. It's a federal crime." So I called the Burbank police. The cop comes over. Now, this is really weird because it's just TruthSeeker, right? He made up a police report for TruthSeeker and had me posted to Google and here and ARS and all over the place. And TruthSeeker vanished forever. I've never seen him again. That was it.
Very good. Well, I'm glad you handled that.
Thank you.
We've got more questions. You mentioned somebody who remained a friend after you left Scientology. Irrelevant Panda wants to know if you could name that friend now that it's been 25 years later.
It's my son.
Oh, okay. Well, that is great that your son did not disconnect. It's horrific.
I had gotten him out before I left, so I knew he was out of Scientology, and so I kind of knew he'd be with me. I didn't want to. I wouldn't have left Scientology if he was not someone that I knew would come with me. I wouldn't have left. And that's why I think a lot of people stay in Scientology, because they're afraid to lose their children or their husbands or their wives, and so they stay.
I'm looking for more questions, which I saw here. While I'm looking for that,
but that was a good question, though, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I think a lot of people wondered that.
Windy City, I love Chicago, by the way. I appreciate that you are upgrading the content you have, but watching you and Tori's 10 to 13-year-old video is really impressive. Thank you.
Good.
And I'm finding upscaling it now and putting it back online. There are a lot of people who never saw it before.
No.
And I'm glad that more people are getting to see some of this history. I appreciate the fact that it's looking a lot better now too. And one thing I noticed, because that reminds me, I watched back one of these live streams, and the quality was really crappy, and I apologize for that. Yeah, because I only have the account that gives 720p video here. If I make a little more money, I'll upgrade, but it was buffering and looked really crappy. So I hope that what we're doing now is actually showing up okay.
Looks good here.
Well, yeah, it does look good here.
Well, ask the guys that are online. How does it look? Does it look okay?
That's what I was hoping someone might say. Can
you guys see it well?
Yeah, they should be able to see it.
I know, but they have to say yes.
Well, tell us, do.
That's what I'm saying. Somebody say yes or no.
All right.
Or it's furry. Or
relevant Yep,
Okay,
Irrelevant
thank
Panda
you,
looks
Irrelevant
good.
Panda.
Dastardly Saboteur, thank you. I'm
Thank
happy
you.
to hear that. Oh, Kelly agrees.
Good.
All right,
Okay,
everybody. All right, terrific.
there we go.
So much. Oops. Wait a minute. Tori looks better than Mark. Of course she does. You know, look how
Always.
sweet she is.
I got to put on my lipstick.
Oh,
See, that's the difference.
Yep.
He doesn't have lipstick.
that's true.
I know.
I do have to get dolled up for these, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, here's something else that somebody asked. I don't know exactly where it is here now, but somebody asked if Stacy Brooks went back into Scientology. And I said, of course not. And then they said, well, Jesse Prince put out a clip that said that she had. And I find that hard to believe. You know Jesse more than I do. You talk to him more frequently. Have you heard anything like that?
I haven't talked to Jesse in quite a while. I mainly talked to him on Facebook.
Oh, okay. I thought I've seen you.
He moved down to Long Beach, so
okay. I thought I've seen pictures of the two of you together at various.
Well, me and Stacy and him, me and Spanky and him, but that was from a couple of years ago.
Okay. So
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know that one.
I can't see that happening. Let's see.
Well, here's what I'd say, Stacy. If you're not, come on and talk to us.
Yeah,
that'd be good.
I can see if she's
talk to you.
Well, I'm not sure that she would though, because she did. Bob and her had a settlement agreement to get Bob out of all the trouble. So she may not. Yeah.
Forget it.
So she may not be able to speak freely.
Yeah, I don't think she can.
That's why I called these videos "Speaking Freely." And let's see. Tampa asks, "How do you both feel today? The channels and protesting are impacting those inside. Are we making a bigger impact than we can see? What do you think, Tori?"
100%. I mean, 100%. When Anonymous was here in 2008, that was a major change in everything because the media before Anonymous wouldn't do. They would interview me for an hour and show about 5 minutes of the interview, right? And that was true for anybody. They just wouldn't show our side of the story. But once Anonymous came in 2008, they did Nightline. It really changed. And that changed everything. But now what they would do is Scientology would go inside. They'd have out cardboard tables doing stress tests, but then Anonymous would show up and they'd pull them back in. But as soon as Anonymous left again, they'd put them back out. But these live stream guys, they're there. That's it. And it started with Jessica and Streets LA. And they were out in front of the testing center. And Jessica was just a riot. She was doing like comedy things. And it was really funny. And Andrew called me and said, "You've got to look on TikTok." And I said, "Andrew, I don't do TikTok." I'm not going to do it. Because every time I go on there, then I get all these weird things forever. And he goes, no, go on it and type in Jessica Palmadessa. And I did. And I'm telling you, I went, oh my God, they are out of their league. They have finally, somebody has nailed them because she was like, they did their typical thing where they put the camera right in your face. Mark,
yeah,
they put the camera right there, and the camera was like in her face, and she was like, "Do you think I'm intimidated by this? I love this. I want attention. I have I think it was 20 million." followers on TikTok, and they're watching you right now. And then she storms into the testing center. She just walks in with her camera on, and the lady's like, "Get out!" And she's like, "I have 20 million followers who are concerned about your security guard. They're watching you right now. Do you have anything else to say?" It was just really funny. She's very funny. And so anyway, she and Streets just kind of took it on, and then more people came on, and it's just gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. And now you can drive around all of LA, and every single building, every single window is shut down. It's covered, every window in Scientology, in any, you name it. But the only thing that's open is that the museum is not covered up, the L. Ron Hubbard Life Exhibition, but it's not open.
Oh, really? It's not open anymore?
No, Dan Walks LA went there today. I saw it online, and it was locked up. And the testing center has not been open since they started, which was over a month ago. I think it was around Christmas when they started. And they say, go ahead, open it up anytime you want. We will be there. Believe me, we'll count on it.
Well, I absolutely love the L. Ron Hubbard Life Exhibition, and I was talking to Ono Nora about that when we did a live stream a couple of weeks ago. It was open when she went. She confirmed to me that all the things that I loved when I visited back in 98 and 99, before they knew who I was, all those things were still there now.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the audio animatronic figures of Turl and Johnny Goodboy enacting a scene from the Battlefield Earth book, and the exploding volcano that explodes before this black and white video about L. Ron Hubbard's creation of Dianetics. That's all still there, still happening. So I hope that's true. I want everyone who can
goes there
to go and visit. Oh, okay. I mean, it's fun. It's fun. More than anything else.
The public don't, because they have such a bad name.
Yeah. Renee asks, do you think Anonymous would end Scientology? What's the difference with the protesters today? Well, we didn't think that they would end Scientology. I don't think any of us could do that. Scientology will do it themselves eventually. But what they did is they enabled a lot of folks who had left already to come out and feel emboldened to tell their stories.
Right.
And that was a huge sea change.
Yeah.
And someone asked in that last question, you know, how's this different from the Anonymous days? Is this making any difference? Well, I mean, if you look at Aaron's channel, Aaron's getting all this inside information, and I can't keep up with them. For God's sakes, I can't watch all of these channels that are out there as much as I'd like to. But every time I catch one of these, it's like somebody from the inside is sharing something important again. And that's the key to us really making progress here. Folks who are still inside Scientology, getting information out that we can take to the authorities. If there were people here in Clearwater who had some inside knowledge of Miss Cabbage organizing all the purchases of these buildings,
right?
If there was any type of email documentation, anything at all that we could take to the FBI, that's what we need. So,
and the other thing is removal of their tax exemption. That's the other thing. And Vicky, I've got to get the number from her, but Vicky knows the exact thing. She told me, she said, if everyone would fill this out, they would have to do an investigation with Scientology. And I put it online and talked about it, but nobody did anything a few years ago. So I'm going to get her, contact her again and find out. Victoria Berry.
Mary James makes this comment. I see you in old videos before you left, Tori, and I swear I could see a glimmer in your eye that you weren't really believing what you were saying anymore. And this was those things where you were still in Scientology.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I was, it's a waking up process. I started 10 years before I left reading self-improvement books because I had massive migraine headaches. I was on OT7. It wasn't helping. So I started going around to different libraries and just looking for books that might help me, self-improvement, philosophy, religions. And I think that's what stripped off a lot of the mind control. But I was waking up during that time. Like, one of the things was list out the top 50 people that you respect. And I listed them out. And then at the end, to my shock, none of them were Scientologists, not anybody. And that was a big boom for me.
Elon Hubbard asks, what happened to Dan Mernon? I don't know. Last I know, he's still in. The other fellow who was in the video protesting me, I'm not so sure about that. But, last time I saw any footage of Dan, he was still spouting the same things that he said to me back in 1999.
And they wanted me to go to your house and do what he did. And I said, no. That's when I started saying, you're creating your own enemies doing this. You don't know Mark Bunker. You don't know this is true. And I'm not going to do it. And that was the beginning of really, I was on my way out at that point.
So, if you had, I would have welcomed you in. I could have convinced you to leave Scientology myself.
And you
wouldn't have to go through the...
You would have done the same thing you did with Dan, which is put a picture of him on your website for the next 10 years.
Well, sure, I'd do that. Yeah, of course.
Well, that is welcoming me in.
Kelly wants to know, could you talk about what happened with Bob Minton, that he ended up in court and critics said he flipped over? Well, it's tragic, actually. As Bob was a great guy and he fought so hard. They did this global campaign to shut Bob down. Bob thought that they had broken into the London offices of him and his partner and stolen documents. And it was a few years later that Bob found out, well, they didn't have to break in. All they did is the Scientology PI guy just paid off the overnight janitor to let them come in and steal all this documentation about the business that Bob and his partner were involved in. And he was an international banker who made a lot of money, but he did it honestly, or at least semi-honestly. The way he explained it to me, there was it was honest. There was this attempt by Scientology to convince the world that he had ripped off Nigeria and stolen $5 billion from them. Well, the business that he and his partner had was to create this shell company. Nigeria was deep in debt and they couldn't buy off that debt themselves. So Bob would buy the debt for pennies on a dollar and sell it back to Nigeria at a tiny profit. So it was, but that profit was enough for them to each wind up with around $50 million, as I understand it. And it saved Nigeria $50 billion. So they got some articles, Scientology, I'm talking about. What's the name of their OSA agent who did this? Oh, I can't think of him right now, but he was going around doing a lot of dirty work at that point.
Was it Milt Wolf?
No. I'll find it at some point, or I'll think of it. He got this Nigerian soccer player, beloved soccer player, to be the front man for this. John Fashanu was the soccer player's name. And Fashanu, oh, by the way, Warlock is here. Thank you, Warlock. Warlock's always waiting on my documentary, and I hope that you'll find it worth the wait. So So they got this article in there for quoting John Fashanu, who had this press conference saying, "I've uncovered this scandal where American businessman Bob Minton has been stealing the country blind." And there were a couple newspaper articles on this. And those newspaper articles, of course, were planted by Scientology, who got who got this fake evidence over to these journalists. And then Bob contacted one of the journalists and asked him about this, how he came across the story, and he identified the Scientologist agent who set this whole thing up. And this journalist then wrote a follow-up story to explain how, no, this is really a Scientology operation. But it caused a major flap that Bob faced head on. And one thing that he did was agree to go to Howard University in DC and do a live debate, essentially, with John Fashanu. And we got there, and it was this big hall with a few hundred seats, and Fashanu didn't show up. The Scientology guy did not show up. But Bob had a chance to tell his side of the story to this very angry crowd of Nigerians who made up the audience. And I think, to Bob's credit, he wasn't at all afraid of talking to them, and he brought along copies of the actual business that was going on, and passed those out to the audience so they could see for themselves what this really was. But Dave LeBeau, thank you so much. Chocolate Raisins has it. Dave LeBeau is the guy. Damn bastard. Let me leave him up there.
That was the
Dave
Osa
LeBeau.
guy?
Yeah, Dave LeBeau, we're on to you. Yeah, he has been caught stealing Mike Rinder's garbage on video and all sorts of ugly things he's done over the years. So Scientology did manage, though, to freeze all of Bob's bank accounts, which did scare him.
I know. I
suddenly, and that's when he said, all right, Uncle, I have to get out of this. Stacy was the one who kind of said, listen, we gotta sit down and deal with Scientology. And Bob was not happy about it, but he knew the situation he was in. And Bob and Stacy, a few years earlier, had been in this position when they took over the board of FactNet, because FactNet was being sued by Scientology. And that was when Scientology had raided the homes of Dennis Ehrlich, Arnie Lerma, and Bob Penny, I believe, all part of FactNet. And they all got sued. And Bob stepped in to kind of handle the lawsuit and sat down for the first time with Mike Rinder and some of the Scientology attorneys.
And this is when Mike was in.
Yeah, and worked out a settlement that kept FactNet alive. So when Bob and Stacy got to the breaking point where it was clear that we couldn't go forward anymore, they thought, okay, we can sit down with them and work out some exit from this. And I remember meeting with them after the first meeting. We met at a restaurant, and they came in shell-shocked. The Scientology said, not only are we going to we're not going to settle with you, and we've got two more lawsuits here we're filing right now. One was for giving Jerry Armstrong a computer. Jerry Armstrong is a critic of Scientology who was the one responsible for bringing the truth about L. Ron Hubbard's life out to the public, because he was working with a biographer, and he got all of Hubbard's records, and Hubbard gave him his blessing to go up into the attic and get these boxes and boxes and boxes.
He was on the ship, actually. Yeah. And Hubbard said, yeah, he was on the ship, and Hubbard said, Jerry went up and Hubbard said, oh, there's a lot more stuff down in the wherever, go check the boxes. And Jerry looked, and it was like, if Hubbard said it was this, the truth was this, and so he went up to LRH in all good faith, trying to help him. And he said, look, this isn't going to go down good for you if I use this material. And he just ragged on him. And so Jerry just packed up and took off. And that began the Jerry Armstrong suit, which is, I think, still going on today. And that was years
they came after him hard, and they got some settlement where every time he posts something online, he's supposed to pay them money for it.
I know.
And so Bob gave him the laptop, and they say, well, okay, because you did that, we're suing you over that. Wow. And then so they plopped that one in front of him, and they said, we're putting together a RICO Act lawsuit against you for $50 million. And they came away from that just stunned, because they thought, okay, we'll go in there. We don't like this. Bob even threw up in the bushes before going in to talk to them the first time. But they came from that thinking, oh my God, I mean, this is horrible.
No, I remember.
And what? Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go on. Go on.
So what they had to do was Bob had to tell the truth about what was going on with the Lisa McPherson civil suit, which he also was funding.
Oh yeah.
And that, of course, led to the civil suit being settled.
But why did he have to go over to Scientology's side? I never understood that.
Well, he didn't go over to their side. Stacy certainly went overboard when she would testify in these hearings, because I went to court and saw Bob testify in person about saying, I can't do this anymore. It's too difficult. And he explained how he had given some money under wrap to Ken Dandar, the attorney for the Lisa case, and that had not been reported. And when Dandar's trial consultant, who had been working for a couple of years for free, found out that Bob had given Dandar this money, the guy said, and you haven't paid me? You got this money and you held it back from me? He quit on the spot, and then he went and testified about things that were happening in the civil case as well. So I don't think Bob said anything that was untruthful.
Okay.
Stacy wasn't untruthful, but she was overemphasizing things that were so extreme that it seemed like maybe she was lying. And, she was just trying to save Bob. But at that point, the mere fact that this was impacting the Lisa civil suit got the entire internet into an uproar. Jesse was also there when Bob and Stacy came in and laid down those lawsuits. And he went to court one time when Bob and Stacy were testifying. He and I were riding with Bob and Stacy over to the court, and then Stacy just disappeared. I'm not Stacy. Jesse disappeared after hearing some of the testimony without saying anything to us. We were looking around for him. Where is he? Well, he left and was so upset that he cut ties with them at that moment. So it was a tragic conclusion, but my feeling was the Lisa McPherson civil case would have ended in a settlement for the family either way.
Yeah, no matter what.
If Bob had not given Dan Dar all the money to take it as far as he had, it would have settled a couple of years earlier.
Right.
But ultimately, it was going to end up with them getting money. So I just wanted to see Bob survive. And it was not easy because there were people who, Bob was being horribly attacked by critics of Scientology long before he succumbed and settled with Scientology. The critics.
I remember when I was in, they had fed all this stuff about how horrible he was. And so I finally said to him, once I was out, I admitted it. And I said, look, I'm really sorry. I believed what they said and I was passing it on. And he goes, that's it? You think that's it? You can just say, oh, I'm sorry, and that's going to be it, Tori? No, that's not it. You supported that organization. And this is really true for every person that is out. This is what I feel. Because Bob, he was right on the money on this. He said, you need to make up the damage for because he's, a lot of the things I wasn't in. And I wasn't a part of it. And like a lot of other people, they weren't a part of it. But they supported the organization. And Bob was saying, as long as you supported that organization, you kept it alive.
Yeah.
So
the folks
that got me making videos a lot longer than I was going to.
But you were talking about IRC and some of the folks on ARS who were really ripping on Bob. And I tell you, it hurts a lot more being attacked by your friends than it does being attacked by Scientology.
Sure.
So I attribute some of Bob's surrender to the fact that the people that he had been supporting, people had given money to, were bad-mouthing him and attacking him on the internet.
Well, I wasn't once I was out.
Oh, no. No, but there was a whole slew of people all around Patricia for the large part. Patricia was one of the producers of the Prophet, and she hated Stacy, and she decided she's going to do everything she can to destroy Stacy and the LMT because she thought Stacy was running the LMT into the ground because Stacy didn't always agree with what Patricia wanted to do.
Right.
And Patricia was just a pain in the ass. And she would be calling, like Stacy decided at one point, the problem is no one complains to these government agencies. When you're in Scientology, you're told not to turn to the police or anyone. So she had come up with, along with a fellow who worked for the FBI, developed this questionnaire to ask what had happened to these folks that could be reported. And they would create the documents then that would go to the FBI or to, whatever division in the government handles that specific problem. And we heard from like the FBI guy said, that he went over to talk to one of these folks. I think it may even have been Greg Barnes. And he got there, and Greg said to him, "Now, who the hell are you? Because I'm talking to Patricia, and Patricia is saying this, that, and the other thing about you." And, you know, this is a guy who was an expert that the FBI turned to in various matters. And he had to sit there and defend himself for an hour to some jerk because Patricia, you know, is being a bitch. And Patricia just was doing that to every single person, mean-mouthing Stacy. And then, you know, we'd catch her and Stacy would call and say, "Why are you saying this?" Bob would call and say, "Stop doing this." And she would go, "It wasn't me. I never said that.
Right.
I never said that."
Right.
And I think I've told this story before, but not often. We went over to Germany, I think on our second trip. And one of the things that we did in Germany this time was have a screening of The Prophet. It had been finished, but not shown anywhere yet. I had seen half of it in rough cut over at their house, and Peter and Patricia made the film, and I could tell it was a big stinkeroo. I had concerns even before seeing that, having read the script, realizing what a horribly written script it was. And then I watched the casting process. So I knew that Bob had lost his money on this. But at the screening of The Prophet in Germany, the screening room there was so hot. There was no air conditioning on. I made it through about half the film, and I said, I can't sit in here and watch this awful movie again. I'm in Germany. I want to go out and see a bit of Germany. So I left and walked around the streets of Leipzig for an hour or so, and then came back. The movie was still playing by the time I got there. And Patricia was in the theater lobby waiting for me.
Oh,
and
dare
she
you
was saying,
walk out?
Yeah, why did you leave? Yeah, I've seen it, and it's hot. Okay. But while we were out there, I said to her, "No, Patricia, why do you attack Stacy this way? It's harmful in so many respects." And she admitted to me that, she was doing that after time after time after time being confronted and saying, "No, it wasn't me. Oh, no." She tells me in the theater lobby, I have been doing that.
Yeah.
I said, "Well, why don't you apologize to Stacy and just, mend these fences?" And she said, "Nope, she has to prove it." I said, "What? You're confessing to me that you have been doing this, and Stacy has to prove to you that you've been doing this for you to say I'm sorry?"
She was a nutball. She was.
She was a gigantic pain in the ass. But her complaining about Stacy not running the LMT well and wasting money, in a couple of months, she went through $2.5 million that Bob gave them to make this movie and turned it into crap. So she was not the person to be talking about wasting Bob's money. Anyway, that's very frustrating. But there was this whole slew of people who were her followers. And Patricia at one point left ARS and her minions. You okay? You okay, Tori?
Go on.
All right. So I'm worried about you. I want to be there.
I swallowed some water down the wrong.
Okay.
It's okay.
She's going to be all right, everybody. I don't know if I can mute you, but okay, you'll survive. I know. So Patricia left ARS, and her minions explained, well, Patricia would not stoop so low as to engaging in flame wars on ARS. Yet these same minions would be posting verbatim what Patricia wrote for them to post. And it was clear because there are hallmarks to Patricia's posts with the capitalizations and the certain words that she used. So it was clearly, this is coming straight from Patricia. And then people were finally caught, and they did admit, well, yeah, Patricia did tell me to post this.
Well, yeah. And
then say that, well, yeah, she's above coming here. So all those folks who were Patricia's minions, they were on Bob's ass before he settled.
Right.
And that hurts enormously. Like one of these people, her husband killed himself in their bed while she was
Who is this?
next to this guy. I don't want to say her name.
It's not Peter.
No. But there's this woman who went through this tragedy, and Bob supported her, put her through college, tried to get her back on her feet. And then she was, ripping into him. And I contacted her privately and said, really? After all Bob's done for you? And she said, well, yeah, that was wrong of me. But when you're being attacked by your friends, that's even harder than being attacked by Scientology. So in many ways, Bob was in a horrible situation, and they made it easier for him to say, all right, I give up. And it's unfortunate. So that's the tragic case. That's what I know of. And from what I heard, I think this came out on Scientology in the aftermath. Maybe it didn't, but I know Mike Rinder had talked about this in the Clearwater episodes when we were talking about Bob. He said that, Bob, during these negotiations, he was ready to kill himself, and he had to talk Bob out of this.
Me too.
And
he called me with that. I talked to him personally.
And during this period when all the critics were attacking him, the LMT had closed in late 2001.
Right.
And I moved up to New Hampshire. I was the only remaining employee of the Lisa McPherson Trust. And they kept me around to continue making sure the website remained up and current, because the website was going to be the legacy.
Sure.
And so I spent another year with them, and I was working out of Bob's 200-year-old barn. We had a really nice office there, and every day excuse me,
in New Hampshire.
In New Hampshire, yeah, and he had a really nice house there in the country, but there was a period where I'd show up every day, wondering if this was the day that Bob would have shot himself. It was that bleak.
Yeah.
So for Bob to do what he had to do to get out from under this, I was happy he was just still alive.
Right.
And I know there are a lot of people who did not share that opinion, who remained forever pissed off at Bob for ruining the Lisa McPherson civil case. But again, if Bob had never entered into this, the family would have wound up getting a settlement, as they did. at the end of it.
Sure.
Because they never would have been able to fight Scientology's legal attempts without him.
No.
At any rate, this has taken a lovely dark turn, and I hope that fills you in a little bit about what it was like. And
Yeah, thank you.
Bob, I think, was a great guy.
He was.
And he didn't deserve any of this stuff. My understanding is also, to get out of it, one of the things Bob had to do was to pay for all the lawsuits, all the money that Scientology had to spend on lawsuits fighting him.
Wow.
He had to write a check to Scientology for that. And then Miscavige said, and he needs to write a $3 million check directly to me. So
Did he?
Apparently, yeah. I mean, that's what I heard from Mike. And Mike, Tampa, you're right. Mike and Bob did form a friendship through the course of getting him out of this. And they had lost touch when Bob moved to Ireland. And then when Mike left Scientology, I got them in touch again. And Mike and I think Marty at the time was also out. And the two of them were going to go over to visit with Bob and Stacy in Ireland. But Bob died before they could get there. At any rate, it's one of the reasons why I have always been supportive of Mike. Because he did help Bob survive that crisis. Bob and he did have a friendship. And there's all these attacks on Mike now. I try to stay out of all of that. I think they're largely unfair. But there's no good in me stepping into this. At any rate, I'd like to remain friends with everybody from all sides. And that's all I'm going to say on that. Let's see. Are there some lighter things to talk about? Are there other questions I've been ignoring here? Kelly, do you know? I appreciate the fact that you see him as a hero. Are there some other questions that I've missed here along the way? Do you know, Kelly? Oh, well, here's one. Who's Bob Minton? Well, okay. Well, that would help a lot. Bob was a retired multimillionaire who in 1995 was upset as a free speech advocate that Scientology tried to cancel alt religion Scientology, the news group. So he started looking into Scientology, and he was annoyed by the attack on free speech. So he started meeting former Scientologists and learning more about it. And then he became an active critic of Scientology. And then he started assisting all these people who had left Scientology and were in need of help. And then in 99, he decided, well, okay, let's go to Clearwater. Let's open the Lisa McPherson Trust, and we'll take the fight to them. So, I mean, that's Bob Minton. Bob tried to make a difference. He spent about $10 million of his own money fighting Scientology for the years that he was in it. And for that, he got some, he got some plaudits, he got some attention, and he got a lot of heartache and misery from it too. But Bob always struck me as a decent guy and a down-to-earth guy you think you got to be an arrogant bastard to be, one of these wealthy individuals who, made a fortune on their own merit. But Bob was as humble as could be.
Yeah, he was really kind. He really was. Yeah. And he was fun. And I love this story. And correct me if I don't have it right, but I think I do. He was a free speech advocate. Stacy was married to Vaughn Young at the time, and they lived on an island off of Washington. And they were sort of like animal rescue people. At least Stacy was really into rescuing these animals. And all of a sudden, wherever they lived, they said, you got to go. That's it. So she mentioned it online. And Bob, being Bob, and just being this kind soul, said, go to this address at Tuesday or whatever day it was. And so they go to the address, and he said the keys, wherever he had the keys set up. And she opened the door, and there was 24 long stem roses and a note saying, welcome to your new home. And that was Bob. He was just such a generous person. You know what I mean? He really was. Like when I needed to get to Clearwater, I said, I can't afford to fly there. And he said, I'll get you a ticket. And I'd never heard of an electronic ticket in 2000. I didn't even know what it was. And he said, just go to the airport. We'll have a ticket there. And they did.
Yeah. There was something that popped into my mind, and it's popped out just as fast, just as I was about to say it. At any rate, I do see a couple other comments.
Was it about Stacy?
Yes. Thank you. I've been capturing a lot of the TV broadcast about Scientology that I've collected on VHS since '98.
Good.
And there was a couple, I've got several shows about Bob and with Bob. Dateline NBC did a great piece on him called The Crusader, where they showed Bob taking on Scientology and buying Stacy and Vaughn a house and doing all of these things, out of kindness. Mike Rinder got to Dateline NBC, and they did a follow-up where the tone was 100% or 180 from that, where they attacked Bob and said, oh, we thought he was a crusader, but look, he bought a house for Stacy, and now he's left his wife and he's with Stacy. So, and he's asking Bob. What was the question? It was, I haven't watched this part of it in a long time, but in the interview, the reporter says to him, it looks like you just spent a lot of money to get yourself a new woman. And Bob said something horrible. I mean, it was, it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't, it wasn't meant to be an insult, but it was like, well, yeah, if I was doing that, I would have gotten somebody younger than Stacy. All right, maybe not the best defense, Bob. No. But it was quite a hatchet job, and Rinder took a victory lap after that one. But I'm going to put up a lot of these shows and bring those back for everyone to see. Yeah, they're ready to go. I'm trying to figure out with the copyright issues now.
Oh yeah, I don't know that.
How they'll be received.
It's tricky because how Scientology is using it with the music, right?
Well, I mean, the music. I don't know that Scientology has much hand in the music thing. They've got bots that can tell what music is playing in your videos, and if it connects with anything in their art, their setup there, they contact that rights owner and let them know, oh, your music's being used here. You're going to get the ad revenue from it. So I don't think it's a matter of Scientology actually getting
It is
involved.
a matter of Scientology.
Well,
But-
Scientology was involved in '99 before YouTube
No, but I'm
existed.
just saying right now, these guys that are the live streamers, they now have to mute their whatever they're doing if Scientology plays their music out on the street. If this is Scientology music, if it comes out on the street, we have to mute all of our cameras.
Really?
So that's what I'm saying. This is a different thing than what you're thinking of.
Oh, okay.
This is not somebody else's music. This is their stupid ass music. We stand tall. Everybody mute your music. It's ridiculous.
Oh, really? Well,
and it's out on a public. It's coming out. You figure. I've been saying to him, I don't think this. This should be brought up with YouTube, because this is music. Their music. They're playing strong enough out that it goes out onto a street, and then they're complaining that like these people can't put their YouTube videos up because they've got copywritten music on it.
Well, I mean, that's insidious, but I don't know why, why wouldn't they just automatically send ad revenue to Scientology? Scientology is, well, I mean, the reason they would stop it is YouTube would catch it in the stream. And
they're not going to send money to Scientology. These are critics.
Well, they should. Well, not the critics. The critics don't send money to Scientology.
That's what I'm saying.
The YouTube algorithm says,
okay,
if you play this music, we're going to find the copyright owner, and they get any ad revenue from it.
Well, that's a good idea. Why don't you write them about that? That's a good idea.
I don't know.
You thought of it.
What? Thought of what?
You just said it. What should happen?
That's what Scientology. I mean, that's what YouTube does now.
Oh, they do that?
Yeah. Like when I upload one of these videos, like the OT panel, it started off with some music that I put on it back in 2000, and that music, while the video is being encoded to be streamed, it goes through there and does a copyright check to see if there's any copyrighted material.
Wow.
And it spots it immediately and says, okay, well, you can't get money off of this one. We're going to let you keep it up, which is nice. I appreciate the fact that they're not ripping videos down the way they used to, because I lost my channel for a while,
right,
when there were 3 strikes against me. In one involving the Tom Cruise video, and we had to fight hard to get that back. And thank God the internet was there to be calling Paramount Studios, because the one that actually got it removed from online completely, the 3rd strike was a little segment from the Colbert Report, which is a Paramount show. And it was a great episode where Stephen Colbert was dressed up in this Xenu outfit, not with an alien face, but with like this alien cloak with the, Ming the Merciless type of thing, speaking as Xenu and giving his commands. And okay, that was beautiful. That had to be online. But that got my channel completely canceled and taken offline.
And remember, the secret mafia that I was part of, one of the guys that was part of it worked at Paramount.
Oh, really? So there was enough media attention to that, and so many people contacted Paramount that I actually got a call from their lead attorney. And I said, okay, I will promise never to post your material again if you'll allow me to have my channel back. And they did say, okay, we'll will rip up that complaint. So YouTube buckled and put me back online. But this very channel that you're watching right now had once been deleted from the internet by Scientology. Anyway,
I thought they had a thing where they now have 4 different ways they can remove copywritten material. No?
4 ways who can?
Oh, YouTube. Like, in other words, you don't have to delete it. They will. You just have to say, okay, either delete it or I can't remember all 4 of them, but there were 4 different ways.
Yeah. Let me see. Oh, new comments. Let me see what else here. Boy. Kelly, any questions that I missed that we should be talking about? Oh, that's right. You were talking about We Stand Tall. No one should get money from that. Or L. Ron Hubbard's "Thank you for listening. I write just for you." That music is criminal.
Ellie, the moderator for Jay?
Excuse me?
Is Ellie the moderator for Jay as well as you?
Oh, Kelly. And I'm not sure everyone she does moderating for, but I saw her moderating someone earlier tonight. Kelly is incredibly helpful.
Good.
Well, I don't want to leave. We've been talking for almost 2 hours. So maybe we should be wrapping this up unless people have anything else that they're curious about. Dastardly Saboteur. Did you, Mark, did I do voice work? Your voice in the old videos sounds so familiar. I did. I don't know that it'd be anything that you'd recognize. I mean, the most mainstream thing that I did was a show at Disneyland that we videotaped for the Disney Channel back in 91. I did the show live 91 and 92 at Disneyland, Mickey's Nutcracker. And I was the beloved character, Mr. Narrator, who got to tell the story of the Nutcracker and actually work with Mickey and Minnie and all the characters. So that aired during the Christmas seasons for several years on the Disney Channel. And I would get recognized from time to time for that.
Sure.
And I'll see sometimes people are now watching these videos. They'll discover the video I put up of my Mr. Narrator stuff. And they go, I used to watch that every year.
Yeah.
Oh, can't believe you were Mr. Narrator. But I did a lot of voice work. I did a lot of ads, radio ads. Taco Bell was a company I worked for a while. These weren't huge things. Let's see. I had some national TV commercials on for a bit. One for Irish Spring. And I get around. I did a lot of other voice work for cartoons that no one has ever seen. I did a Japanese, an English dub for a Japanese thing called Kabuto, where I was some forest giant. I never actually saw it. I saw the image of who I was playing and did the lines for it. And I also did a series of Bible stories, which was always fun.
Right.
It was this church that decided we want to get the story of the gospel out to kids. And the folks who were doing the animation of it were saying, you know what you do to get the kids involved? we're going to create this little fox character that will go from story to story. So he'll just be watching some of the events, and that will tie the whole thing together. And every time we'd come in every month or so to do some more episodes, it would be, oh, the fox is out. No, the fox is back in. Oh, we got to get rid of the fox. Oh, so that went back and forth. I don't know what happened if the fox ever remained in it or not. I did find a few episodes online. I'll see if I can dig them up. I caught a couple of episodes where I could find my characters in them, but I was never one of the biggies. I wasn't Noah. I wasn't Adam. I was always some bystander.
Right.
The one I remember is I was one of the elders in some village, and my line, as I recall, was, "We must have a king. All of the other lands have kings."
Right.
And the first time I came here to Clearwater was the trip where some of you may have watched the video that I put up about a mysterious phone call when it looked like there may have been a kidnapping attempt on me.
For real?
Yeah. It was, I came here for the very first time by myself. Bob had bought me a ticket. This was early 99. And there was a transit board hearing, which of course Xenu TV had to cover, because the critics during I think it probably would have been the 1998 Lisa McPherson Memorial Vigil, which I was not there for. But a couple of the people, including, I think, Mark, oh God, I can't think of his name right now. Well, a couple of people paid for ads on the side of the city buses that would say things like, leave Scientology. I forget exactly what they said, but they were critical of Scientology. If you want to leave, here's a way out.
Yeah.
They were on the street for about a half an hour before Scientology called and got them taken off the street. And so the critics were upset. We paid for this.
Yeah.
And so there was a hearing in the transit board about this. And I thought, I got to cover this. Oh my God, this is going to be exciting. And it was moderately interesting. One thing that I did enjoy about being there for it, I did meet Tom Tobin, who was the reporter on Scientology for the Tampa Bay Times at that point. He was that year's Tracy McManus, and he was a great reporter. He is now Tracy's editor, I believe. And he and Joe Childs were the reporters for the paper who eventually did the award-winning series where people like Mike and Marty and all sorts of other folks spoke out for the first time. And for the life of me, I can't think of the name of that series right now, but somebody must know. It was a big series that the Tampa Bay Times ran. Maybe 2004, 2005, something like that. The Truth Rundown, that was the name of it. So I got to meet Tom Tobin for the first time, and he was interviewing at that moment. Yes, Stella, I got it. Truth Rundown. He was interviewing a Scientology attorney who was the Scientology attorney, the top attorney in Clearwater, that when Scientology came to town, they hired him to do all their dirty work. And this was from Johnson Pulp. And this was Paul Johnson was the founding partner of this. He retired shortly after I moved here, but I got a little bit of him on camera there which was nice. He was the one who represented Scientology when Clearwater had a week's worth of hearings on Scientology. And all these folks like L. Ron Hubbard Jr. and Paulette Cooper came to testify on live TV throughout the Clearwater area. And I have all of that up on CNU TV and on my channel. And he came in at the very end. They gave him time to put on any witnesses he wanted. He just came in to say, we're not going to put anybody on here. This has been a travesty. All these lies from people. And, you know, it went on for 10, 15 minutes like that. So by the time I met him, which would have been like 15 years later, he was pretty much out the door. And I did have a chance to be grilled by him on the witness stand, which I really enjoyed. It was in a case where Bob had been involved in I think, an incident with one of the Scientology security guards. And I don't remember exactly why I was testifying, but Paul Johnson showed a piece of video and confronted me with it, where I come up to one of the Scientology security guys and saying to his camera, "Did you ever fuck anybody in the auditing room?"
Wow.
And
you said that?
I said that. It was on video. And they played it and tried to, disgrace me with this. And I said, well, why didn't you play the part before that where I was saying what he said to Stacy? I was repeating that. He said to Stacy, did you fuck Vaughn in the auditing room? And I put that video back up online not too long ago. I upgraded. This is the trip to Clearwater videos. I think this time I called them Bob Minton Storms Clearwater on day 2. I think that was. And Paul Johnson said, "How dare you speak like this, shouting obscenities outside where people are having a church service." And I said, well, for one, that was across from Mr. Submarine. There were no services. Yeah, this was an empty parking lot, essentially. I was not, bothering anyone's services and their auditing. But, I pointed out to the judge that what came before that was all this stuff where they were harassing Stacy with that. And then I finished it off by coming up and saying to him that. And the judge said, is that correct? There was more video that you're not showing us? And, well, Your Honor, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. If I'd had my tape, I could have shown it. And the judge, if I could have pulled it up in an hour or so, if I'd gone home and found it, he would have allowed it in. But he was just satisfied knowing there was more to the backstory, and he was upset that Scientology was trying to pull a fast one on him.
Right.
Which Scientology always does.
Sure.
Okay. So, Johnny Meyer says, I recommended the Shrinking World of L. Ron Hubbard. This is a great show, which I'm trying to dig up my copy that I got directly from the person who made the show. I had it online for many, many years, streaming on YouTube. And suddenly I got contacted by the guy who was the interviewer, the guy who actually found Hubbard docked and came up to him around midnight, and he had a camera with him, and he said, "I'd love to interview you." And for some reason, Hubbard said, "Sounds like a wonderful idea. Come on up." And the guy set up, and all of the Scientologists on the ship were we're watching this thing as Hubbard was pontificating, and the guy asks him tough questions like, have you ever thought that you might be mad? and he was thinking, oh, I'm going to be killed for this. But he got away with this amazing footage. And he sent me one directly from the master, which didn't even have the audio mixed at that point. One channel was dialogue, one channel was music. So it was the best possible material for this. And if I can dig up that particular copy, I can make a much better version of it that's been online.
You could probably ask John Sweeney also. It's from the BBC.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that one wasn't. That one wasn't. That was.
It said from the BBC on the title. It did.
I think it was ITV.
Scroll back. It does.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, the person said it was BBC. I don't think it was BBC, though.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So anyway. So Victoria says I was talking about almost being kidnapped. Well, if you look at the video I just put up recently called A Mysterious Phone Call, you'll see what happened. As I was in that hotel.
The mystery sandwich.
Yeah. So I was here in Clearwater. I checked into this hotel where I was staying for a couple of days to shoot this video of the big transit meeting. I turn on the TV, and the first thing I hear when the TV comes on is, "We must have a king. All of the other lands have kings." And I just, this is crazy. Wow. I've never heard any of this cartoon, and I turned it on and it was playing on the public access channel here the second I come to Clearwater. So that blew my mind to begin with. And then when I was leaving the night before, and this is all in the video. The night before I leave, I got a call from a guy at the front desk who said, would you like a car tomorrow? We can get a ride for you. What time are you leaving? I said, oh, thank you, noon. And
wait, this is a guy from where?
The front desk of the hotel.
And he's going to get your car?
Can we arrange a ride for you to the airport?
Oh.
I said, well, that's nice of you. Sure. I'll be checking out at noon. And I hung up the phone. And I thought to myself, I've been to the lobby several times. I've never seen a guy in the lobby.
Right.
There's always been women behind the desk.
Yeah.
So I went down there and talked to the woman who was at the desk. And
yeah, it sounds
she didn't want her face on camera.
No.
But she told the story, and she had notes on it, that some guy had called the desk and said, arrange for a car for Bunker at noon tomorrow. He's in this room.
Ooh, they were going to kidnap you.
Well, I don't know what the plan was, but it was creepy. The fact that she had it all here, because I told her, listen, I'm gonna get out of here at 11 now that I know this. So she had all that in the notes. If he calls back, don't let him know that he's leaving at 11. But very bizarre. And then, I did call I think it was the sheriff's department that I called, and they sent somebody out. The next day, they came to pick me up, the sheriff's department, and they gave me an escort all the way to the airport. I was not kidnapped. I don't know if I was going to be kidnapped. That just seemed like
kind of sounds like it.
It was a troubling scenario.
I mean, that's sort of fishy to have some guy call up and say, and he's not part of the hotel.
Yeah.
Right.
What the hell's going on? So I've never got an answer on that, but
wow.
It was a nice introduction in my first visit to Clearwater.
Yeah.
So, I've been downtown in Clearwater and had the security guys following me, videotaping me everywhere. And so when people say Clearwater is creepy, I say, well, yeah, it was certainly creepy the first time I came here.
Right.
But after you've been here, it's my downtown, for God's sakes. And Scientology, they creep people out. But people should know that Scientology is more concerned about us than we should be about them. They want to keep us away. And so us going down there and showing them we're not afraid, I think is the best thing that we can do. So
Yeah,
it's nice. I always see everybody joining Aaron out there with the live streams. I think it's good to keep them on their toes.
Sure. It is. It's fun.
All right, Magoo, are there any other things that we should be discussing?
Probably 100, but we've already been on for 2 hours and 10 minutes. So I think for now, we should probably call it.
It's been the most exciting 2 hours and 10 minutes ever on YouTube, though, hasn't it? No, okay, maybe not the most. But I hope you all had a nice time. Tori, thank you so much for being here with me. You only have a few hours before it's midnight your time.
Right. Then I'm back on the air.
Yeah. Do you do a live show every night?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I just do them almost every night.
Okay.
Not every night, but and I do longer ones and shorter ones. Like last night was I don't know 5 or 6 hours because we were out at Scientology, and so I had 10,000 views on that thing. Normally I have 1,000, but there were 10,000 because I think also it was me, Jessica, Jay, Chris. So it was like a whole bunch of different. Solomon was there, so it was just like there was a lot of different interaction with critics.
I need to start doing more of these.
Yeah, definitely.
And I don't know if Mark at midnight would be okay with you. Because I'm 3 hours before you, Mark at midnight.
So you're 3 hours before me?
Yeah. But if that's infringing on your midnight, I don't want to do that.
I think of a different one.
All right. Very good. Not midnight with Mark. All right.
No.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you, Kelly, for helping out here. It's been a delight, Tori. Thank you.
Thank you for all this stuff you've done. I mean, I can't say it enough. I know you're horrible at taking compliments, so I'm just going to say it. But I want to thank you. You, if you hadn't made all these videos, they recorded so much history that is very valuable, don't you think?
Yeah,
I mean,
and that's the lasting legacy of the LMT.
Right.
Folks can see what it was like.
Yeah.
Hear from the people who came to tell their stories.
Yeah.
See the nuttiness involved.
Because you worked for the LMT. So,
yeah,
that was the thing. And it is a lasting legacy because Bob was, I don't know how did you meet Bob?
Very quickly, when he took over FactNet, early 99, like January 99, he made an announcement on ARS. Stacy and I are going to be chairman of the board and board members of FactNet. And I sent him an email saying, hey, I've been putting video on the web for several months now. And if there's anything I can do for you video-wise, just let me know.
Good.
And they called me instantly.
Wow.
And said, yes, come on out.
Come on down.
They flew me out the next weekend to Connecticut, Stamford, Connecticut, where there was this cult info conference. And Bob put his little camera in my hands, and I followed him around everywhere and did all the behind the scenes stuff, and then videotaped all the panels and put all that online.
It's so great.
And then after that trip, I asked Bob for a camera because I didn't own one. He got me a camera. He got me editing equipment that I still use to this day.
Sure.
And that got the ball rolling. So that's how I met them. And, I'm glad I did.
I'm glad you did too. And I really can't thank you enough because you really did a great job of covering all kinds of different people in all kinds of different areas that wouldn't have been covered, otherwise because they were leaving and then a lot of them just went on with their lives. You know what I mean? But you got their story. And it's really important. I
was very lucky to have had the chance to do that.
Yeah, well, I'm really glad you did.
And still meet people and do as much as I can to help out with this.
Hey, you did the
all right.
House.
Yep. Yeah, I have to put all of those interviews online again too.
Yeah, and what's the guy? Show me the MF Clear. What's his name?
Oh, Jason Magoo.
And we were there for that. That was great.
Yeah.
That was
you were there watching as we did the interview.
Remember he said Tori, right?
Yeah, he even referenced you at one point. Yeah,
that was great.
Yep. Yeah, that.
And I remember that video. I almost thought maybe I should tell him not to swear so much. And I swear like a sailor, but I just thought because it's on the internet and he's an actor and all this other thought. I thought maybe I should just mention it. But then I thought, Tori, say nothing. This is unbelievable. I mean, it's just it's one of the best videos I think out there.
The cursing I think is what put it over the top.
Yeah,
I mean it became a real sensation. It's still the most viewed video on my channel, and I'll be upscaling that too.
Oh, good.
And I'm curious about whether I can monetize that. But please, people, I'm going to apply for a job tomorrow. So any help you can give me, I appreciate.
Why couldn't you monetize it?
When it does the checks, it's asking you when you say I want to put ads on this, it says, is there any profanity in your video?
Oh, it does.
And normally I can say no. This one, this one's going to be loaded with it, but I'm going to try. I'm going to say no. There's none, and see if it catches it. Just see. Really, are you not going to monetize this video? Come on, this is Jason Begay.
I'm really surprised. I mean, they have on TV.
People love this.
Swearing all the time on TV. So come on.
Well, I think YouTube is concerned. We can't go out to these corporations and put their ads in front of things filled with profanity and violence and all this kind of stuff. So they try to weed it out by just asking you. No, there's none.
No. None that I know.
Yeah. Anyway, you'll see that at some point. All right, everybody. It's been great. It's now 2 hours and 17 minutes, 33 seconds, and we're saying good night. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.